I'm here at Superbooth 1010, and you just brought out the Bento. What is it exactly? Like, is it a groovebox? Is it a sampler? Is it a granular synth?
It's many of those things and more. So this is our Bento. It's the 1010music Bento. We consider it our Swiss Army knife, our lunchbox of interesting tools. We also call it our sampling production lab. So you can manipulate samples a number of different ways, from granular to multi-sampling to slicing to just one-shots and loops.
Okay. Yeah, maybe just do a short demo, and then we'll look through all of the functions. So this is the basic screen.
Yes, this is the home screen. This is where you see your 8 tracks, which can be up to 5 different types. On the left, we have the granular track. And I should also point out that for the first time, we've introduced a product that now has 16 velocity and pressure sensitive pads.
Is it MPE?
It's essentially the equivalent of MPE. Because it's internal, we don't really need to communicate via MIDI, but it's the same principle that each pad has its own separate pressure. So,
Okay. Could I have accessed it later on via MIDI and MPE?
we may do that eventually, but for the time being, it's internal only.
Okay, yeah. But it got everything it takes, and we got to see. Well, actually, we're going to hear that a lot today, because right now some of the stuff isn't implemented yet, like samples and scene, and also you can't edit the start and end point of samples. But other than that, it already does an awful lot of awesome stuff.
Yes, it absolutely does, and we're drawing upon a lot of previous work. That if you're familiar with the blackbox, you know that we can do sample point editing. You know that we have multi-sample tools. You know that have access to USB and scenes and songs. So a lot of the existing work has already been done. It's simply a matter of porting it over to the Bento.
Yeah, so little improvements like USB-C. I always had problems with USB-A, with the blackbox and bluebox, that it wasn't isolated. So this doesn't hum any longer.
Right. So there's a number of things that we've done to improve upon the hum. First of all, we've provided a Y cable so you can separate the power from the connection to the computer.
Okay, can you just show me the examples here? How does granular work? It comes from the little yellow-orange box. What's it called again?
Yeah, so lemondrop is our premier
Lemondrop, right.
granular synthesizer. And if you drill in a touch further, you'll see that you've got a variety of controls, 2 different granular waveforms, a sub-oscillator, 2 filters, 2 LFOs, like a really full-fledged set of granular controls. Like here you can set different grain sizes, different windows. You can make it much more thick and dense. There's really so much you can do with it that it's hard. In a much smaller screen, it's much harder to do, but here you've got all the parameters unfolded and before you, so it's much more fun to play with on a big screen.
This is basically the interface of the lemondrop, just a much bigger screen, touch screen. But other than that, it does everything the lemondrop does?
It does nearly everything the lemondrop does. As far as patch playback, 100% the same. There's a few things that have yet to come, like live inputs, MIDI CCs. There's obviously a couple things yet to be done, but it sounds the same on all the patches that we've.
Okay. Next function. What else does it do?
The next function is that you can use, like the blackbox, you can use a grid of 8x2 pads and play different drum sounds. This is something that you can load it as an instrument. We've got a new instrument interface where you can load drum banks or multi-samples at once. But here it's just, as you would with many other types of machines, one-shots that can be played from the pad, or things that can be sequenced. So it's real easy to hit record and play, or come over here and see sequence of.
Yeah, I know this from the black box, but with the black box, my fingers were always so large. But you can zoom in and out here.
Having a much bigger screen is a huge win.
Thanks so much.
To select multiple events and manipulate them, as a group, or push them forward and back. Like there's a lot more editing, a lot more detail to do here on a bigger device. So that was the one-shot screen. The multi-sample screen is akin to having a full instrument. You can have up to 500 samples on each instrument, which means you could have an entire 88 key piano with 6 different velocity levels. We provided a number of sets included with the Bento, including this one, which is an analog string sample, an analog string sample set from Samples from Mars. And you can see that it's quite a long and involved sample. It's not simply a tiny little bit, and it's all being streamed from the micro SD card, so it loads quickly, and it really does not have any hard limits in terms of the amount of samples you have. The sample length is not really constrained to internal memory. It could be up to 4 gigabytes per sample.
But where do the multi-samples come from right now? Do you have an editor, like maybe Nord with the Wave?
The multi-samples are available a few different places. We include several sets. You can load your own with a bank load option, so you can acquire them from third parties like Samples from Mars.
Okay.
You can sample them on other devices, but eventually the Bento will be able to do multi-sampling internally.
Yeah, just like the blackbox. Yep.
But in the meantime, you can take stuff that you've acquired, you've already got on disk from those two devices, bring them over and use the load all function to get them in.
Okay.
The next type is the loops, and this is akin to what we've done on our blackbox. You've got different things you can fire off, and with the functionality, they'll synchronize and use time stretching to adjust to the current tempo.
So this is basically like the solo samples, but they're looping, and you got polyrhythms.
You can do a variety of different rhythms. You can do different lengths, different quantization.
You can quantize them, you can pitch shift and time shift them.
That's correct. And you do each different loop can have its own different length and timing and quantization. So you could do polyrhythms if you choose to.
Yeah, that's usually always a pain. So yeah, nice.
So this is one area where you can fire up the recording and choose your different options. You can choose preset lengths. You can clock to external things. You can live record monitor from different inputs. And this is where having 3 different inputs is quite handy. So you can set up 3 of these.
Each of the labels up here belong to a knob on the top of that. Because it looks like it belongs to the column below, but it's actually assigned to the knobs.
Yeah, let me show you a better example of what that looks like. If you start with the new track, these are a little more separated and don't blend together nearly as well. So this is what a blank recording screen might look like. Where you've got 16 slots to work with, a variety of input options, whether or not you switch immediately over and start playing it when it gets recorded in, how you quantize, whether or not it's, clocking or whether or not it's sort of free record, whether, threshold or not. There's lots of different ways to work.
Okay. What else do we have?
The next thing I'd like to show you is the slicing. This is where you can load in a wave or load some of the templates that we provide for you, and you can go directly to a large waveform. And unlike our other products, with the built-in pads, you can work with both the control of where the slices are and fire them off at the same time. So it's something that people have asked for and gives you way more control. Here's an example of it just in the start point.
It also has detection built in.
Absolutely. So you can scan, if you've got something that's raw or something you'd like to go in a little more detail. By choosing the scan function, it will go through and mark off what it believes to be the beginning of every different beat. But in some cases, you may need to tweak it. And here's an example of one that's not quite where you need it to be. And you simply hit delete and it will go away.
Yeah, I know that from the black box. Is all of this accessible via MIDI?
So all of this, you can certainly play these slices via MIDI. You'll be able to sequence the stuff via MIDI. We've got some work to do on getting CCs and various other things working, but MIDI is in place now.
And it works just like the black box, so I send a note and then it plays some part of that or one of the samples.
That's correct. At least here in slicing mode, like each one of these slices, each one of these pads corresponds to a note on from externally.
Okay.
And let's see.
That's so much stuff.
So I believe we've talked about them all: granular, one-shots, multi-samples, loops, and slicing. That reflects our 5 track types. We've committed to do a couple more. We're going to have support for live audio input. We're going to have support for a MIDI track where you can do many of the same sequencing features that you can do internally will be available on external instruments.
Okay. And it's in the shops next week?
Yes, so the units are shipping now. The MSRP in the States is $899 US. Here that translates to about 1,000 euros. Yes, they will be in the shops. They're available for pre-order now, and we expect them to be on store shelves within 1 week.
Yeah, I've already seen it listed on Thomann for, I think, 1,049. So yeah, it's available now. You can do everything that you see here. Sample editing and songs and scenes are yet to come, but because these guys have a grand experience with everything else here, I'm pretty sure this will be awesome.
Well, we're still working very hard and look forward to hearing what you guys think of it.
Yeah, okay, well, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye.